Welcome back, everyone. Today we are doing lesson 7.8 and we are multiplying polynomials together this time. Alright, so last lesson we added and subtracted, so we'll do a little warm-up with those. So if we're adding, we don't really need to worry about our parentheses. So 3x minus 9 plus 5x minus 8. So combining my like terms, my 3x plus my 5x gives me 8x. Negative 9 minus 8 is negative 17. So I get 8x minus 17. All right, for part B, 3x squared minus 2x plus 1 plus 7x squared plus 8x. So I see a 3x squared plus 7x squared. Combine those, I get 10x squared. Remember, in order to add or subtract terms, they need to have the same variables and the same exponents. All right, then I also see I have a negative 2x up here and a positive 8x. So negative 2x plus 8x is a positive 6x, and then I still have that plus 1. All right, now subtraction's a little different. All right, so for C, we need to think of distributing that negative. So I have 7x minus 6 minus 3x minus 5. So 7x minus 3x is 4x. Negative 6 minus 5 is negative 11. So we get 4x minus 11. All right, and for D, I need to distribute that negative throughout, and I'm just going to rewrite the whole thing. So 2x squared plus 9x minus 4 minus 3x squared. And then if I'm subtracting a negative 5x, double negatives makes a positive 5x minus 1. All right, so combining our like terms, 2x squared, negative 3x squared gives me negative x squared. Then I have a positive 9x and a positive 5x. All right, so that gets me plus 14x. And then lastly, the negative 4 and the minus 1 gives me a minus 5. All right, so we are just simplifying, adding these together, and combining our like terms. All right, so now we're moving on to multiplying. So first we're multiplying a monomial and a polynomial. So 5 would be the monomial, mono meaning singular. Then 2x squared plus x plus 4 is our polynomial. And the technical name for that is a quadratic because of the x squared power. So if x squared is your highest exponent, it's a quadratic. If just a plain old x is your highest, like x to the first, then that's linear. All right, that's why we spent a whole unit on linear equations. All right, so in order to distribute this, or multiply, I'm just going to distribute. So I have my 5, and when I multiply it by 2x squared, I get 10x squared. When I multiply 5 and x, since it's a positive x, I get plus 5x. And 5 times 4, I get plus 20. All right, since I can't combine anything, I know I am done. All right, now for f, we're multiplying x into our polynomial. So x times 2x squared minus 3x times x plus 5 times x. So really this 2x squared times x is 2 times x squared times x. So 2 times x times x times x minus 3 times x plus 5x. All right, now we can't combine these because we have different amounts of x's. So x times x, we could rewrite that as 2x cubed minus 3x squared because x times x, and plus 5x. And we get our answer. All right, so now we're going to multiply multiple monomials together. So 5x squared times 4x cubed. Now, since everything's multiplying, I could rearrange it. So 5, actually, let's expand it out. So 5x squared is 5 times x times x. Times 4x cubed is 4 times x times x times x. So everything's multiplying, so I could rearrange it to 5 times 4 times x times x times x times x times x. Now 5 times 4 is 20, and if I have x times x times x times x times x, or 5 of them, I would get x to the 5th. Another way to solve it is maybe you recognize that 5 times 4 is 20, and if you have x squared times x cubed, that's x to the 2 plus 3, which gets you 20x to the 5th. All right, number 2, let's expand this one out as well. Negative 3 times x times x times x times y times y times 4 times x times y times y times y times y times y. All right, so rearranging this thing a little bit, I can do negative 3 times 4. Now all my x's I'm going to put together, and there are 4 of them. And all my y's I'm going to put together, and there are 7 of them. So I can see that negative 3 times 4 is 12. 4 x's multiplying together gives me x to the 4th. And 7 y's multiplying together gives me y to the 7th. All right, the other thing you could have done is maybe you had negative 3 times 4 times x cubed x times y squared y to the 5th. And when you have the same base, so like these two x's or these two y's, and you're multiplying, you add the exponents again. So we still get negative 12. And then x to the 3 plus 1 power gives me x to the 4th. And y to the 2 plus 5 power gives me y to the 7th. All right, this last one, now we have 3 terms multiplying all of a sudden. So let's expand it out. 1/2 times a times a times a times b times a times a times c times c times 6 times b times b. So let's put all the like variables next to each other. So I'm going to put the 1/2 times 6 next to each other. And again, the reason I can rearrange it is because the commutative property, everything is multiplying, so the order does not matter. And then let's take care of all the a's. So I have an a times a times a in the first grouping, and then a times a in the second grouping. I see that I have 3 b's total, and also 2 c's. So if I do 1/2 times 6, I could either do 0.5 times 6 on my calculator, or think of it this way, what is half of 6? Well, that's 3. If I have 5 a's multiplying, that's a to the 5th. 3 b's multiplying gives me b to the 3rd. And 2 c's gives me c squared. All right, another way to do this, maybe you move the 1/2 times the 6 right out in front. And then maybe you said a cubed plus the a squared, b to the 1st plus b squared. All right, and then c, you just have the c squared. So if we do it this way with our properties, we still get 3a to the 5th, b cubed, c squared. All right, on the back side though, we're multiplying binomials, so that means each thing has 2 parts to it. So every item in the first set of parentheses has to multiply to everything in the other set. So what that's going to look like is on this first one, we have x plus 2 times x minus 5. So this first x, I need to distribute and multiply x by x. So x times x. And I also need to take that x and multiply it by that minus 5. So minus 5 times x. All right, but I still haven't touched that 2 in the first set of parentheses, so if I distribute that, I get plus 2x, and then distribute that 2 to that minus 5, plus 2 times negative 5. So doing some simplifying here, x times x I know is x squared. Negative 5x plus 2x is negative 3x. And then a positive 2 times a negative 5 is negative 10. So I have x squared minus 3x minus 10. All right, this next one, I do not want you to make the mistake that almost everyone will make. This plus sign in here, all right? That tells us we cannot just distribute that exponent. That is not allowed. All right, because these parentheses tell us that whatever's inside, that's what's being squared. So what this really means is we have x plus 5 times itself twice. So x plus 5 times x plus 5. So if I take that first x and distribute it, x times x is x squared. Distribute the x to the 5, and I get a positive 5x. All right, but I can't forget to distribute every term in that first set of parentheses. So going back to that 5 and distributing, 5 times x gives me another 5x, and then plus 5 times 5. All right, so if we combine some like terms here, we get x squared plus 10x, because 5x plus 5x, and then plus 25, because 5 times 5 is 25. All right, last one for binomial times a binomial. 3a squared minus b times a squared minus 2b. So this 3a squared I need to distribute to a squared. So 3a squared times a squared. Then I also have a 3a squared times a negative 2b. Now if I distribute this negative b, I have minus b times a squared and negative b times negative 2b. All right, so 3a squared a squared. Remember, that's the same thing as 3 times a to the 2 plus 2 power. Plus, now I'm going to do 3 times negative 2 a squared times b. Just rearrange that section because everything's multiplying in that term. And then I'm going to rearrange this minus a squared b instead of ba squared, just because I like things to be alphabetical. And then lastly, I have a negative b times a negative 2b. So two negatives make a positive, so positive 2. And then b times b is b squared. All right, so let's keep on simplifying. We have 3a to the 4th. Now positive 3 times negative 2 is a negative 6 a squared b minus a squared b plus 2b squared. All right, and now there's one thing that we can do. I noticed I have an a squared b and an a squared b. So those are like terms, and I can combine them. So 3a to the 4th minus 7a squared b plus 2b squared. All right, so multiplying polynomials, I'm going to show you a different method. Actually, I'll show you two different ones. So this first example, x plus 2 times x squared minus 5x plus 4. We'll do it with just like the dolphin jumps or double distribution. All right, so this x in the first set of parentheses needs to multiply into everything in the second set. This positive 2 needs to multiply into everything into the second set. All right, so this is not a FOIL problem. So I need x times x squared. I need x times negative 5x. And I need x times 4. All right, now I need to go back and distribute that 2 So plus 2 times x squared plus 2 times negative 5x and plus 2 times 4. All right, so simplifying left to right, x times x squared. Now that's x to the first times x squared. So if we add them, we get x cubed. Now x times negative 5x, the positive and the negative make the negative 5. Then x times x is x squared. All right, x times 4 is the same as 4x. 2x squared can't be simplified. Then a 2 times a negative 5x is a negative 10x. And then 2 times 4 gives us plus 8. All right, so combining some like terms. I see I only have that singular x cubed, so that'll stay the same. But then I have a minus 5x squared plus 2x squared. So that gives me a minus 3x squared. Then I have a plus 4x minus 10x to give me minus 6x. And I still have the plus 8 left over. All right. Oops, sorry. This should be 3x squared, not cubed. All right, so that's if you use like the jump or the home run, whatever method, distribution. This other method is what we call the box method. All right, so let's see here. All right, so on the second one, you can see I have a box set up. All right, so the reason I do this is because in my first set of parentheses, I have a 3x and a minus 4. So I'm going to put the 3x and the minus 4 on the side with 2. And on top goes the negative 2x squared plus 5x minus 6. So negative 2x squared plus 5x minus 6. All right, so now I can just fill each box by multiplying the corresponding parts. So 3x times negative 2x squared. So 3x times negative 2x squared gives me negative 6, and then x times x squared is x cubed. All right, then I have negative 4 times negative 2x squared. Negative 4 times negative 2 is a positive 8x squared. All right, 3x times a positive 5x gets me 15x squared. Negative 4 times 5x gives me negative 20x. 3x times negative 6, that gives me a negative 18x. Positive 3, negative 6 make negative. Negative 4 times negative 6 gives me a positive 24. All right, so now I've multiplied every single part together, and I just need to combine like terms. Now, if you set it up in standard form, so standard form meaning the highest exponent, so in this case 2, going down to the lowest, all right, things line up for you. All right, I have my x squareds are on this diagonal. I have my x values that are on this diagonal. All right, so if I had more terms to multiply, they would line up on the diagonal. So let's combine these. Negative 6x cubed plus 8x squared plus 15x squared minus 20x minus 18x plus 24. All right, so now our like terms are right next to each other. So negative 6x cubed stays the same. 8x squared plus 15x squared gives us a plus 23x squared. Negative 20x minus 18x. So negative 20, and we're going further negative. Minus 38x plus 24 still. All right, so the box method might be a little more work as far as the setup goes, but it is the best tool, I think, to stay organized. All right, so let's try another one. X minus 5 times x squared plus 4x minus 6. So on the left side, x and the minus 5, and on the top, x squared, 4x, negative 6. All right, x times x squared gives us x cubed. Negative 5 times x squared is negative 5x squared. X times 4x, x times x, so we get 4x squared. Negative 5 times 4x gives us a negative 20x. X times negative 6 is a negative 6x. And negative 5 times negative 6 gives us a positive 30. So this one, maybe I'll combine my like terms right away, all right, and save a step. So if I have my highlighter, I notice 5x squared and a 4x squared, negative 5x squared and a 4x squared. So I'll start with my x cubed. There's only one of them, so it stays x cubed. Now negative 5x squared and a positive 4x squared gives me a negative 1x squared, or minus x squared. Now if I go look in my single x terms, I have a negative 20 and a negative 6. So negative 20 plus negative 6, negative 26x. And I still have my plus 30 at the end. All right, so that is how we multiply polynomials together. All right, some of these problems will be a little longer, but they are satisfying when you finish them. All right, so make sure to do some practice and get the LT check done.